Thanks for tuning in to the Medevac Podcast, powered by the Robert Irvine Foundation, whose mission is to support and strengthen the physical and mental well-being of our nation's heroes and their families. I'm one of your hosts, David Reid.
And I'm your other host, Christian Meyers. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Medevac Podcast. If you're new here, price for the show, you have to share it with a friend or family member if you're getting something out of today's episode. We've got a fantastic guest today, Sean Demoe. He is a former Marine, dog handler.
No former.
Yeah.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
So he's a Marine, just no longer active Marine. I always get in trouble if I say ex-Marine,
It is
Marine.
in trouble, but I think we've come in this community to the consensus that you're allowed to say former. You just can't say ex.
Can't say ex, but
can't say ex.
but
Can't say ex,
I'm not a former. I am always going to be a Marine. That's how I.
Okay.
That's fine with me.
Hey,
That's fine with me.
Hey, it's that arrogance.
Yeah, you know what?
It's fine.
It's earned, right?
Yes, sir.
It's earned. That's what they say. Sean was a dog handler from 01 to 15 in the Marine Corps. Spent some time contracting, and now he's a volunteer chair with Texas Valor Project, who we work with pretty closely. So welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. Yeah, and so Dallas, Texas. We're out here in beautiful Dallas, Texas. It's getting hot already. I can't believe it.
It's summer in March.
And you do a lot of work. You do a lot of work here with Texas Valor Project. But I want to rewind it back a little bit and kind of how you got started and why the Marines.
Why the Marines, or why did I join?
Why the military? Why?
So I am going to be a 9/11 baby. It happened. It pissed me off. I realized at the time that it was time for me to do something to help the country.
Sure.
I had been working out of Rockwall County for EMS, emergency medical dispatch and stuff, for a couple of years prior to, and 9/11 happened, and I answered the call. Thought it was the right thing to do.
How old were you?
Wow. I already had 2 kids at the time, so I was in my early 20s, so I was about 23.
So you were kind of the old man when
I was definitely the old man.
Yeah.
which is funny. Like
23.
yeah, 23. It's so funny. Yeah, we had a guy. His name's Stephen Yaw, the Muffin Man, aka that's his name. So just in case you wanted to know that, but he was 23 years old, and that guy, he got beat up for it, man, and like. From when you're 17 or 18 years old and you're going through boot camp or basic training, that's a huge difference, right?
Yeah, big difference. We had a 47-year-old in my boot camp, and he did not do well.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I would think so. Yeah. I got there. I was older, and I was kind of a little bit of a fat body at the time. I'm still a thick guy no matter what, but I was definitely on the diet recruit and everything else. But
yeah, so you had some more maturity, I imagine. Than
absolutely.
Yeah.
So a little older going in. Did you know what you wanted to do when you went in? I mean, obviously, you're coming from a medical background. Like, how did we go from medical to handler?
Well, Marine Corps doesn't have a medical, so I was looking at something else initially.
In the Navy, and you were like, absolutely
wasn't going to do it. That was part of the reason why I became a Marine.
And then you joined the Navy anyway.
Well, the department, the men's department, right? No, it was one of those things that I saw the Marines as being the branch that I wanted. I saw this guy who's about 6'2" or whatever it was, big old guy that was in the with his Charlies on, and he was doing pull-ups, and as I'm walking by, I'm like, that's who I want to be. It's like, I mean, it was kind of motivated. I mean, but he grabbed a hold of me and just really walked me through. And I mean, it was nonstop. I mean, it was within a couple of months and everything. I was already shipping. I was ready to go. Everything.
Mm-hmm. So nice. So you went in right after 9/11 then, huh?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And how?
Like right after.
Right after.
Yeah.
Pretty
and then
quick.
you shipped off to boot camp right away?
I went to boot camp, started boot camp in February of 2002.
Okay, yeah, so pretty quick turnaround there.
Yeah, the very beginning of February.
And when did you land at your first duty station?
So I went through boot camp, came home from my leave, and then went right back into MCT.
Okay.
While I was there, I had already chosen the job for being what was military police / corrections option, and I didn't know the difference. But while I was there, I found out that I was going to go military police. I was excited about it. So I never left. I went straight from there to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, did military police school. While we were there, they held a formal board for a number of canine handlers. Went from there straight to canine school in Lackland Air Force Base. So I was... Boom, 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 boom. So by the time I hit the fleet, I was already, well over a year in and an E3 already. So had a little bit of rank under me, compared to some of the other ones that get to the fleet and they're still privates.
Which is more common for the Marine Corps, right? Like they bump you guys through pretty quickly, typically.
What do you mean bump us through?
You guys don't typically have a lot of follow-on schools for the Marine Corps. Typically what I see is one or two schools and then it's right to fleet.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys get a lot of your follow-on schools after, where like the Army's kind of back and forth. Air Force is much different. It's all front-loaded schools. Like if you're doing
I went to school a lot more once I got more rank on me, and I was actually, I was a fleet Marine.
They save it. They save it.
They want to make sure that you're going to stay in.
Yeah, not the 4-year kind of commitment. So curious to rewind it back a little bit to 2001, impact of 9/11 happens, and it's obviously an emotional and erratic time for everybody. Texas has a very, very deep-seated patriotism to it as well. Did you have any friends that joined with you, or kind of decided to, or you were just like, I'm going to do it myself?
The only thing that I knew about, I didn't know any veteran communities. I did, like I said, emergency medical dispatch. My brother-in-law is the owner of the location, so I knew a little bit about the medics. It's where I met Aaron Withrow. Saw what they were doing, first responders, police, that kind of stuff. It did do something for me. It did help me kind of steer in the right direction. I guarantee if you were to look me up in high school, getting ready to graduate, I was definitely not voted on to be who I am today. Absolutely. I am not who they thought I was going to be.
That's a good thing for
it's a great thing.
Yeah. The military service has a tendency to kind of
it did.
That second chance.
It did. I mean, even as an older man with 2 kids, and I was pretty set in my ways, it definitely had an impact. It made me who I am.
Yeah, they'll still break you down. They will still break you down. Yeah.
Reissue your identity. So you knew what you wanted to do when you in that recruiting office, or did they kind of like have to educate you a little bit?
So like I said, when I first went in there initially, I was going to try to do the fireman. I was going to, and I didn't know exactly what it entailed, but that's kind of what I knew. I knew I couldn't do the medical part because of being Marines. They didn't offer it, and unfortunately, I didn't have the ASVAB to become a fireman, but I had the ASVAB to become a military police officer. So that was my secondary choice, and that's what I took.
The ASVAB's been kicking everybody's butt lately. Have you heard of this?
I haven't.
So the new recruits. What is the percentage?
Yeah, so
almost 4 out of 5 can't pass the ASVABs.
Really?
Yeah, my neighbor's an Army recruiter, and over winter break, so the kids who are graduating this year, seniors in high school, he took 10 kids to take their ASVAB. 3 of them scored a 3. A 3.
So they got their name right.
They got their name right.
Yeah, exactly. Points for your name.
Congratulations.
And it's a weighted.
And they were looking down. Oh, wait a second. That's later.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a weighted test. That's the craziest part. Like it's weighted to the classroom that you're in of people. Like a 3. That's crazy. So that's kind of where we're at in this day and age, and we're sitting at about like a 20%.
I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
So
kind of been out of the game for a little while on that.
Yeah, it makes sense. We obviously have to stay kind of in it as well, and lots of people that are overweight and not hitting the standard, and then we're lowering the standard, and it's a trying time. That's why recruitment or retention is at an all-time low.
Except for the Marine Corps, maintain their numbers.
Yeah, they do. They do good.
You guys do good
It's
stuff.
the uniform.
I mean,
It's making you earn it.
you'd be surprised at how many people we've had on the show that are Marines that are like, "Why'd you join the Marines?" Oh, the uniform looks better.
It does, and it does,
And it does.
This is no argument.
And if you are like a big dude, like you're gonna be able to tell in that uniform because that is tailored to you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
point.
So dog handler, like, what does the training look like for that?
The basic school out of Lackland Air Force Base is about a 3-month program. They break it down to 2 different blocks. The first one is going to learn basically how to take care of a dog. You learn the grooming standards. You learn the health stuff. You also learn a little bit about obedience, and you start to learn that command voice and what the commands are, how to get that dog to respond, and what makes it tick. And then you go into the second block, which is how to utilize that dog for its secondary task, which is of detection. So whether or not it's drugs or whether or not it's explosives.
Okay. And how many different types of dogs are there? I mean, obviously you have.
You're talking about breeds?
Well, just like bite detection,
bombs, drugs.
So for the most part, like I said, when I started, we had through the DoD wide, it was just a dual purpose dog. You had a basic sentry dog, which is what you had a lot in Vietnam, and then you had the detection work, which is secondary, which is what we use for like the police force. Police force is going to use a dual certified dog in patrol, and then also inside either drugs or explosives.
So question about that. I'm just very curious about this. Is how many different scents can a dog be trained on?
So that's up to the handler or the trainer and the dog itself. I mean, depending on whether or not it's drugs or whether or not it's explosives, there are a set number that are the cursors that they are technically looking for. So any explosive item is going to contain particles of this, or this, and these are the key parts of that explosive item. So no matter what, you teach them those keys, and they're able to get it. Because the coolest thing I ever heard was what they call the hamburger theory and stuff like that, which is whenever we walk into, we're going to say Burger King or something like that, you walk in and you smell what?
A burger.
You smell a burger. All right. So when a dog walks in and everything like that, they don't smell a burger and everything. The dog smells the yeast in the bun, smells the seeds, the garlic. It smells everything. So they break down the senses all the way down to the molecules and everything. So they can sense everything that's in it.
I wish I could smell like that.
I bet you really don't.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It's like, can you imagine?
Yeah.
They enjoy like smelling shit.
Well, so why are they actually smelling it? They are they checking to see whether or not the animal that is sick? Are they checking to see where that animal's coming from? Are they seeing what they ate?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to it and everything like that. I mean, it kind of makes you want to smell some shit right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. My superpower is over.
Right.
Is scent. So let's talk about this breakdown of ingredients. I've heard from numerous handlers as well that you can't overly train on a mass amount of ingredients because it overstimulates the dog.
The saturation level.
So 2, 3 tops is what we're talking about, right? So for instance, I was talking to this officer who was specifically, this dog was for he would identify cleaning solutions and lubricants for weapon systems. So like CLP.
Sure.
And he's like, and they can only work for a couple hours at a time before they burn out and, they start missing things.
Right.
So what's your thought process on that? Like, is that accurate? Like,
So what we're looking at basically is a couple of different things. If, let's say, for instance, police officers, we pull up on a vehicle, whatever it is, and they roll down the window, where it's a traffic stop, whatever it may be, and you smell what you believe to be marijuana. Do you really have to get a drug sniffing dog in order to detain that person or question or to try to get rights to go into their vehicle? The simple answer is no. You as a police officer have that probable cause. You can go in there. Now, if you want to utilize the dog, then it's because there's only a very faint smell, a hint of something that you believe is there. Or maybe it's just the person's eyes or the pupils are too big. So you think that they're on something. Well, they're probably not, marijuana is probably not going to do it, but some sort of other narcotic or whatever is going to make their eyes go up. So now you have a suspicion, but you don't necessarily have that probable cause. You have, so you ask for consent, whatever it may be, they give it to you, and now you're going to utilize that dog. A dog is going to be able to smell one pill. That is under the seat cushion or something like that, because their sense of smell is great. So same thing if you're using explosive and everything. If we walk into a room and there's one little small stick of dynamite shoved underneath, pillowcase or whatever it may be, or whatever it may be, the dog will find that. However, if you walk in there and the house has 200 pounds of something, the dog is just going to start. I mean, they're going to go crazy because there's too much.
Saturated.
So it's saturated. Yeah. What they're looking for is they want to key in on that exact area of where that odor is coming from. It's kind of like taking a fan or whatever it is. The fan pushes out the odors like this. So the further away it is, that odor is filling that room. So the dog has to bracket back and forth to try to pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. And if there's too much of that odor in that room or whatever it is, they won't be able to pinpoint. So one of those.
What about concealment?
What do you mean?
Like, you hear all these tips and tricks, vinegar, throwing off dogs, coffee grounds, tobacco.
We trained that way. When I worked for the Department of State and everything, we did a odor recognition test and everything, and we would utilize glues, pantyhose, Kongs, food, just a number of different things, what we call distractions and everything, to try to throw the dog off. So we do train through that. So it is something that we do. Part of the other answer to the question that you asked is duration of a dog and stuff like that. So the simple thing would be is for you to sit here, for me to say, I want you to take one deep breath and then just, how long can you sniff in that hard? And before you are just exhausted.
Interesting.
And that's what the dog is doing. Whenever you put them on a task, they're no longer just standing around. Because it's like us right now. We're sitting here right now. If one of us farted, we're going to, the other people are going to smell it a little bit or whatever it may be. We're going to know it's there. Same thing with the dog. If it happens to be there, they're going to react to it, which does happen.
Yeah.
But when you put the dog to work, now you just turn them on. And when you turn them on, as soon as you turn them on, now they're sniffing the entire time. They're breathing hard. So they're depending on conditions, whether or not it's hot outside, or whether or not, how long have they been, how much sleep have they had.
How many distractions are happening.
What all has been going on. Is there other distractions going on? Like, if we're actually in a combat scenario or airport with a lot of different people, how many other odors are in the area, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of factors that go in on it. And that's the reason why the teams are trained. It's the handler's job, responsibility to ensure that dog has what it needs in order to perform.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah, the concealment thing is an interesting question because it's, obviously we see drug trafficking, all across the border, all across, even on airplanes, we see it pretty often. This must have been 6 months ago now, but I watched a guy get busted in front of me. I think I was walking through Philadelphia airport. So they have like a little partition when you're about to check in with your, throw your stuff on the x-ray. They had a partition where you had to walk by 2 dogs. The dude got popped, opened his bag, and they took him off on the side. It was like, ooh, damn.
You watch movies all the time, and they say, use coffee grounds or whatever it is to try to throw. I mean, will it help to cover something? The simple answer is obviously yes. But again, a dog smells one particle.
So, yeah.
And that's all that they need. So,
it's like 23 times more powerful on average.
Easily.
I hear. So it's like, the way it was explained to me before was like a skunk. Like from a mile away, a human can smell a skunk.
Right.
Well, at that same value level, that's how dogs smell just about everything. Like it wafts, and they can smell it like pungently, basically.
Right. Well, you got to think about how big the snout is on the dog. So everybody looks at, and this is our nose, this is our snout, and ours are different sizes. That whole thing opens up and everything, and that senses is going through.
And it's much deeper in their heads, right? Where they actually are smelling, it's not at the front of their nose like us.
Correct.
It's like within the brain almost.
I think we're losing that capability as humans. Smell. Just a weird thought. It's a weird thought, but think about it. We don't sit there and smell the air as much anymore. We're so reliant on our eyes, even our ears, right? So you got to actively listen. Same thing with dogs is they're actively trying to smell, right? So they're going to sharpen and hone their skills to that.
That's the exact suggestion. I'm gonna go off on a weird.
Well, I mean, if you think about it though, from a dog and everything, if a dog hears something, they look and everything, ears perk up, and they start to actually get that 1,000-mile stare. They are looking because the harder that they concentrate and look, and those ears come out, their senses, they're using all their senses together.
And we happen to just focus on one. Now, I know you're going to go on a tangent here.
It's just relative to the nose thing.
Yeah. My thing is it worth investing in dogs that smell marijuana nowadays?
Well, that would be a personal thing. I mean, my answer is no. I think marijuana is pungent enough as it is.
I heard it.
Pretty much everybody knows what marijuana smells like.
Well, like a TSA agent, like especially with these gummies and the pens and stuff like that. He goes, listen, if I had to stop everybody with the gummy and a pen that I've seen, he's like, I'd be stopping everybody.
Arrest everybody.
Everybody's doing it nowadays.
Well, so real simple and everything. I mean, you're not looking for the person who has a joint. You're not looking for the person who is traveling with a vape pen. You're not looking for that.
Thanks.
You're looking for that. The traffickers. You're looking for that and everything. So I mean, you're going to find that. You're
going to smell that.
Well. There's going to be indicators that are there and stuff like that. So, do I think that you really need a dog for that? The answer is no. But more than anything, it's the visual psychological deterrence So whenever you have that dog out there and stuff like that, it's always going to put people on edge. I don't care who you are, whether or not you have anything or don't have anything. If you see the dog, you're looking, you're paying attention.
So you're looking at behavior shifts, like
you're looking at everything. You're looking at everything.
Dog?
You're looking at everything.
Yeah, it makes
so
sense.
that is one of the things that they utilize dogs for, and everything is just for that visual psychological deterrence.
Oh, yeah, it makes absolute sense. Yeah, because if I know the dog's at the airport, I'm going to be much less inclined to drag them.
You'd be surprised how many call them perpetrators or whatever it may be. If you're an officer and you have that gun out and you're pointing at them, you're telling them to get down, get down, get down. They're going to be somewhat argumentative. As soon as you bring that dog out, boom. They listen. It's like, wait a second, man. I could shoot you and you're dead. The dog is just going to mangle you up a little bit, you know? I don't get it. So something about that dog that's, salivating, just looking at you and shaking. And,
That's a primal response, though.
You want to see something cool, you get a dog that just starts shaking so bad and then they get a hard on. That red rocket comes out because all they want to do is
I just want to bite.
I just want to bite something.
I heard that a training methodology, I was reading somewhere that frozen chicken wings to help with the bite strength. So they
that's any sort of bone as long as it's not cooked.
So like
it helps sharpens and cleans.
Chicken legs, feeding the dogs this so that they have to chew frozen food so that their bite. I'm like, oh my God, that's so intense, dude.
Yeah. Well, so along those lines, what are some of the tips and tricks? Because frozen chicken wings. When I was deployed to Somalia, the working dog that the teams we were with had, this dog's name was Lucifer. It was ridiculous. It was a Malinois. They would tie an ATV tire to
alligator.
They would tie an ATV tire to its vest and throw a ball, and it would drag this ATV tire through the dirt and like full speed. It's like, oh my God, like, you're not getting away from this.
They like to work.
Full resistance training with that, sharpening the teeth. I've heard metal teeth implants used to be a thing.
I've seen it only because it was necessary. I mean, they don't do it. They don't do it because they want to
take them out and put them in.
I don't. That's not going to do any better for the dog or whatever it is. But
I'm curious about
any sort of training that you do to the dog or with the dog and everything is limited only to what you are willing to do.
Sure.
Your mind, your thoughts, your ideas and stuff like that. As long as you're not inflicting harm on the dog and everything, as long as there is a purpose behind whatever you're doing, dragging a tire or whatever it may be, there's nothing. That is great. One of the things that you're looking at is whenever you have the dog, you don't want the dog to just come up and and grab a hold of you. Even if the dog comes up, grabs a hold of you, and the bite is able to snap your arm, that's not what you're looking for. You want that dog to spring into it. And so you're utilizing that leash, you're doing the back pressure, you're holding them back, you're trying to charge them up, you're trying to get them ready to go, and you let them kind of go closer and closer and stuff like that. It's like playing tug of war. So whenever you're playing tug with a dog and stuff like that, whether or not you're using a wrap, whether or not you're using some sort of a toy, whatever it may be, you have to let the dog win a little bit. You have to let them come in, and then you have to pull back, and then you get back in and stuff like that.
Engaged.
You keep them engaged and everything. You have them. You're building that drive in them. You want that drive, and it's only
let me go.
And that's what you're doing when you're holding them back. So if you're right there and you're agitating and you're trying to get that dog to bite, and I'm pulling back, but I'm trying to charge them up, and they're getting excited, and then I let them have a little bit, and then I pull them back, and then all of a sudden all that tension is gone. When that dog feels no tension, pow. And
that's the psychological thing. You're sitting there like, oh my God, that dog is coming at me. We worked with handlers as well. I mean, they're attached to us as rangers, and we had a dog that went through, and he came back with child's fingers, and I was like, oh my God, that's rough. Anyway, his father was building bombs to blow up troops, so I didn't feel too bad. So, but these dogs, they'll love on you, and as soon as you give them a command, they're ready to rip your throat out. And it's insanity to see some of these dogs. It's
like a light switch.
Yeah, it is. So and also there's a lot more that goes into it, right? I mean, this dog is with you, or they, did you have to miss leaves and stuff like that? I know in battalion you can't even go on 2-week leave. You have to be there with your dog at all times.
So the dog itself is assigned to the base or the post or whatever it may be. If the handler is absent for whatever reason, whether or not it's training or whether or not they're vacation time or whatever for whatever rhyme or reason, everything, the dog is still taken care of. There is still some sort of maintenance going on. There's a trainer that's part of that kennel. There's a kennel master that is there. You'll have a trainer. You'll have a handler that will come in and make sure that they exercise them a little bit. So they do still get out of the house. They're not just with you. Now when you're deployed. That dog is yours.
Yeah. Okay.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week for everything. That dog is dependent upon you for everything. It's food, water, exercise, training, love and affection.
Yeah.
It's everything that you can do. That dog belongs to you. And as long as you build that bond, that dog is going to work for you.
Interesting. Yeah. What types of breeds are you guys using? Obviously Malinois, I see that, and then Labs, I see a lot for.
When I first started, the majority of the dogs were German Shepherds and Belgian Mounds. That was the main dog that we were using. There was reasons for it. It's their size, it's their ability to sniff, and their size being for the patrol work.
Sure.
Throughout my career, I saw them introduce a lot of labs that came in and stuff because we took away some of the patrol aspects and we started utilizing them for just the detection work. And then they started doing the combat tracking dogs. So those were a little bit different and stuff. So they took away the police aspect altogether.
Okay.
So it definitely has changed over the years.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yep. Now you've gone on deployments with your dog, I imagine.
Yes.
So tell me about some of the things that you were doing, whether it's overseas or stateside. Like, are you doing detection work? Are you out on operations? What type of stuff?
So I had a couple of deployments to Iraq. Went into Fallujah during the actual push, the initial push. I was one of the first handlers. So not the initial push into Fallujah was just basically an attack or something like that. Showing them that we're there. Then when we actually went in for an occupying force and Phantom Fury. I was probably the first, but within the first that actually entered into Fallujah.
Okay.
On foot.
Was that 1-5?
I went in with 3-1 weapons.
3-1.
Yeah. I went. So at the same time, we had an Army brigade coming over here. We had Marines coming in on another side. We all operated and came into the Jolan village and everything. That's where we collaborated. But what we're doing there was not patrol work, so to say, other than that visual psychological deterrent that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm walking around with a 85-pound black German Shepherd in the middle of the desert. I guarantee, they're already over there. They're already looking at the fact that I have a dog, and the fact that I have a black one, and they think my dog is literally from hell.
Yeah.
They think that I've got Satan. And the thing is, I had a female. She actually was not a patrol dog. She was, she would bite or whatever it was, but she wasn't one that get all salivated. By the time I think I did 2 tours to Iraq for probably a total of 15 months or something like that, over the 2 deployments. But ultimately, she became a little bitch. And she popped my arm out of socket once because she got irritated. If you were wearing a man dress, she knew you were the bad guy. That was just the way it was. I mean, we did so many operations and everything like that. Whether or not we were at entry control points, or whether or not we were doing reconnaissance, we were on patrols, out and about. She learned that the man dress was the bad guy.
Wow.
Obviously not all of them were.
Of course,
but that is how she associated it.
Yeah.
It's if you're in uniform, you're friendly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What
was her name?
Rita.
Yeah. And how long did you have her?
Oh, I had she was my first dog, the only one that I had when I was at Camp Pendleton. Okay. I was with her for probably 4.5 years.
Okay.
A couple of deployments and lots of dignitary missions and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So some presidential details and whatnot. She was a great dog.
Yeah.
I mean, she was about as nice as they come for the most part, but great detection. So she was my first dog. I went from there to the schoolhouse to be an instructor.
Okay.
And so I went back to Lackland, was an instructor. So I got to help train a lot of dogs. But while I was in the fleet, she was the only dog that it was assigned to me, and that's the one that I did all my missions with and everything that I did. Picked up another couple of dogs later on when I went into the Department of State for a contract and Kabul.
Okay. Now, what happens when they're done with their service? Because they have a finite amount of time that they can.
They do. They can be adopted out. So as long as that they meet certain requirements, stuff like that, they can be adopted out to the right household.
Okay, and they can just go to anybody, or is it a handler typically, or
they generally go to the handler, or they offer it to the handler. But unfortunately, a lot of the junior Marines don't have houses. They're in barracks. So, I don't know about all the other branches of services, but I do know that for the most part, if the handler was able to take them, they would offer.
Sure.
If not, it would go to law enforcement or, other trainers, stuff like that. I mean, they wouldn't, I think Lackland itself, for their puppy program, I think they were adopting to pretty much anybody who is willing to take the dogs. And these wouldn't be necessarily dogs that made it through the program. They would be washouts for either a medical reason, or they just didn't cut it as far as patrol and detection work. They just didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
So
okay,
Yeah.
That makes
sense. How long were you with the State Department?
about 3-4 years.
When were you done with that?
I got finished at the basically 2020.
Okay. So you were out of Kabul and did not. You weren't there to see the exit.
So I was still I wasn't active anymore. I was on injured reserves, and I was not physically there. But some of the videos
that had to be hard.
So that airport was actually one of my posts. So I recognized it well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure,
from the videos and stuff.
Yeah,
some of my handlers were there. Some of my friends were there and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. So how was your transition out of the military and State Department? Like how did that fare for you?
Well, when I left the Marine Corps, I was up for medical separation, but I got back to Rockwall and real quick realized that basic civilian life just isn't for me. I'm a bit of an asshole. I didn't like seeing some of the things I saw. I didn't like communicating with some of the people, but I had an opportunity to go be a contractor. A buddy of mine that was a medic. He was doing, I think he was working for Dynacorp or something like that, but he had some connections, whatever. I made one phone call, and within a couple of weeks or whatever, I was already hired and getting ready to head over to Virginia and start my process and stuff like that. But so I couldn't think of anything better to do than go back and do what I already loved and what I was already trained for, or something like that. So here I went straight over to DOS. My biggest fear, and it's just that, again, that Marine arrogance and stuff like that, was the people that I'm going to deploy with. I didn't know exactly what we're getting into. I'm over here thinking about my combat experience, and I remember we Marines, we went and picked fights. That's what we did. Sure. I would jump in a Humvee and grab a couple of dogs, a couple of assets, whatever it is, and let's go see if we can go see if we're the biggest
hornet's nest.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I was like, okay, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So my biggest fear was the fact that I didn't know the other branches. I didn't know what their combat experience was. What level did they have, and then I'm about to go walk into Kabul, Afghanistan, and with people that aren't trained to do what I have seen.
Yeah.
And that's what I was afraid to get into.
How did it play out?
Well, we were more of a static force, as contractors and stuff. I mean, there are different agencies or whatever it is that they go out and do a little bit more, but they're typically actually going to be more trained into those areas. So for the most part, we were doing ECPs, checking lots of vehicles and stuff like that. I mean, we got hit a few times. I mean, we got shot at, we got RPGs. We had probably one of the biggest bombs that went off in Afghanistan. I think the crater was 45 feet deep.
Jesus.
Killed hundreds. I mean, it was pretty bad and everything like that. I was probably 150 yards away from it, knocked me out. That's probably what kind of believed that was probably one of the biggest parts of me getting a TBI. Was that one alone. I was in a little bitty shack.
Yeah.
And literally it felt like somebody had backed into it with a 7-ton, and I mean, this shack was bulletproof and everything else. But I think what saved my life was the fact that I had the window cracked and the door cracked that day. It was 8:00 in the morning. It was beautiful. I was like, oh, it's a beautiful day out here.
Pressure,
Yeah. I really think that's probably what saved me from being scrambled.
Might have just popped you otherwise. Yeah.
Otherwise, I might. And now
powder.
Yeah. Inside the building.
Yeah.
The building.
Yeah. Could have been. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't. I mean,
Better not find out.
but that's kind of what
Same
my
concept
buddy.
as your mouth open when you're breaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what they teach you. That's pretty much what they said. Unfortunately, one of my best buddies, Sergeant Cam, was killed in action in Iraq at the Ramadi glass factory. He was the first canine handler killed in action since Vietnam, and pretty much he identified a suicide bomber. His dog Bruno basically identified, and they went to approach, and he set it off and everything. And there's the way I understand, I was actually in theater, but so I didn't see him. But they said there was very, very little damage to him. It was just his insides.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's terrible. So obviously you went through some big mental hurdles, in your time in service and with the State Department as well, and you transitioned out of the military to back to Texas, and how I'm just curious, like in what process, how did you get involved with TVP and hear about this treatment?
The treatment itself for me came before Texas Valor Project had stood up. The Donna Cranston from Defenders of Freedom, a friend of mine, I met her at Banner Brothers, which is a local group in Rockwall as well. A lot of good veterans, police department, first responders, local leaders and stuff like that. A great group of people that come together and just really trying to help the community, whether or not it's the veteran community, first responders, or just in general our community as being Rockwall County. So I had met her there and met Johnny Wilson from Coast to Coast.
Oh yeah.
And rode with them a couple of years and stuff like that. And I really became friends with Donna. And
how's Johnny doing?
I mean, he's like you.
Yeah.
He's missing that limb. He's missing. Yeah.
Oh, damn, dude.
No, you guys are a lot alike. No, he's a great guy. He and I live in the same neighborhood and stuff. But no, Johnny's good people. I see him every now and then. I mean, he's busy. He's a really great. He's an awesome guy. But Donna had come to me, and she basically said that she thought I had some cursors that she would like to find out whether or not I qualified for the program. And it took her a little while when I say a little while, she hounded me for a while.
Yeah.
Over a year.
She's good at that.
Yeah.
Though.
She hounded me and everything. And finally, I'll tell the truth. When I went in, I was not like some of them where I went in, both feet, like, hey, I'm going to do this because I need this. I literally went in there because I thought that I owed it to Donna and I owed it to my wife, that, there was things that I had going on. I had anger issues, some stuttering, but moreover, I had a lot of loss for words.
Okay.
I could see the word, but I couldn't say it.
Yeah.
There was just little things that she saw. So she really pushed me to go through it. So I went through with them. It's a completely different course now. I mean, I love what they're doing now, and that's kind of the reason why I stay active in it, because I can see that they're not just saying, okay, this is what we do, and this is the only thing we're doing. They're learning as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's the successes, and then there's the failures and stuff like that, and they're learning that, and they utilize it because they generally care.
They do care.
They might have a paycheck coming, not Donna, but brain resiliency. Somebody has to pay the bills there, so there's money going there. But that's not why they do it.
No.
They do it because they want
passion.
It's the passion. Yeah, exactly.
And
so
they truly do care. Yeah.
So through a lot of like-minded individuals, going through the Banner Brothers, Donna Cranston with Defenders of Freedom, Johnny Wilson with Coast to Coast, moving on forward and everything. My brother-in-law is one of the founders, and then Chris Dorwood, good friend, Marine veteran, and Dallas police officer. They had a vision, and they started running it by people, and they put all their chips in and said, I'm all in on this, and let's see what happens. And we're 3 years later, and they're doing a phenomenal job.
Oh,
and how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I realize that if I am going to serve in the military, I can serve my community. I can continue to serve without actually having to, I don't work currently, but I put as much time as I can into some of these other organizations, help with fundraising, whatever I can get. I'm one of those that people feel apparently I'm not the asshole I thought I was because I'm approachable.
Yeah.
But I am. I mean, a lot of people know if you come at me crazy or whatever it is, I come at you right back.
And you're helping with like TVP with their some of their events, like the skeet shooting and stuff like that, right?
So I've been blessed to where I can. People have asked me to go and participate in some events, whether or not it's fishing, whether or not it's skeet shooting, whether or not it's golf tournaments, whatever it is. And I end up whenever somebody gives that to me, I usually try to pay it back. I volunteer. I go back and do it again. Do something else, and that's what I've continued to do. And Texas Valor has really given me that opportunity to continue to be part of what they're doing, and I'm pretty lucky on it and stuff.
Do you have a dog now?
I have pets.
Yeah.
And I say that for a reason. So, the whole thing about, an AC guy never has AC, a painter never has his house painted or whatever it may be. I may be a trainer. My dogs listen to me. My dogs know that I'm the alpha. That it is what it is. But I'm not going to sit there and train my dogs to, do crazy things or whatever it is. I've done that, and I want the pet.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I want the pet right now.
Someone to hang out with.
I see this all the time too with, don't let your dog sleep in the bed. And, all these people say that, certain things. And it's like, it's a pet, unless you have a working dog, like that is meant for a task and purpose. Just let it be. Just let it be a pet.
I mean, the only reason why my dogs aren't in the bed with me is because they're too damn big and they lay on my legs.
My dog in the bed either. She's 13 pounds, but she snores. She's lucky to sleep in the room with me.
She could take up a whole king bed.
The little
and
one?
she does take up a whole king bed.
They tend to fart a lot too.
Oh, just smelly little creatures. Yeah, to be honest, like potent beasts. Potent beast. Boston Terrier. She's a Boston Terrier, and she does. She farts and she snores. And that's the only thing wrong with her.
Otherwise, she's an adorable little gremlin.
She is an abomination, though. It's like I feel bad. I'm like, where's the nose? So, what kind of dogs you got?
They're mutts. One of them is basically a pit bull.
Okay.
But it's still a mutt, somewhat of a mutt. But you can definitely tell that she's a little mini pit. And then I have another one. Was found in the middle of a field, emaciated, looked like a fox or whatever it is, and found out now he's got like 2 different types of husky in him. He's got Rhodesian Ridgeback. This dog now is big as hell.
Oh yeah.
And he's awesome. He's got one blue eye. It's kind of cool and everything. It was kind of sad though because, like I said, he was emaciated when he was found. But it was on Easter. Okay. And a buddy of mine found him, and it was like, "Hey man, I need somebody, somebody to hold on to the dog." I was like, "Go ahead and, bring him on over here and everything like that. I'll take care of him. We'll find out what to do." And now he's still with me a couple of years later. But he has a big dent, kind of a flap on his head, and then he's got part of a missing ear right here. So my thought was, as a puppy, he was shot.
Oh, interesting.
That's terrible. Terrible people.
That's what it looks like.
You look like the type of dude that might kill somebody for hurting an animal.
I won't say that on tape.
Neither confirm.
You ain't getting me to say that on tape.
Confirm nor deny. You can't.
Don't look at my shoulder.
Yeah, like I could just see that in you. It's like don't mess with the animal. Yeah. So it's it's that Marine mentality, man.
I'm still a heavy hand. I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, whenever my dogs do something that I don't like, whatever it is, I mean, I'm gonna let them know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
they appreciate that too. They like structure.
Structure.
It's who they are, right? I mean, it's there. You see them in a wolf pack, like how they treat each other. Jesus Christ,
bite the shit out of each other.
Like put you in your place.
Yeah.
It's an interesting career field, and we dove really into the dog thing. It's just interesting, and I think a lot of people who get out as handlers too. I ask that question: is like, do you have a dog? They have a dog, but they do not have well, we should say pet. Now. I'm gonna adopt that. It's like, do you have a pet?
I have a pet.
Pet or a dog?
I still keep in touch with my canine community, whether or not it's from the kennels whenever I was in the service, or whether or not it was some of the handlers from the Department of State. great group of people. They're still very active within their community. I've got some really, really great friends and stuff that are still doing really badass things within this community or within the canine community and stuff. So canine is a special breed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they the ones that are passionate about it, stuff like that, it's something that they love. I mean, there's nothing cooler. That's a real strange word and everything like that. Does either do a show for a group of people that are not used to seeing the dogs, and we perform a demonstration, everything of the bite capabilities, and watch how they do it. I was one that whenever we did them, I always wanted that shock and awe factor and stuff like that. The first thing I would do is try to do something that gained that audience's attention. But also to sit there and be a trainer and go into any sort of room or whatever it may be and set a training plant and know that I have an air conditioning on and I know that it's going to blow the wind around and stuff, or the odor rather, and try to set this up to trick the dogs and the handlers and watch them negotiate it. It is so cool. It's very cool.
I bet that's pretty exciting to watch.
Plus, we get to play with explosives.
Yeah,
which is the best part.
Yeah, and dogs. Yeah,
and sometimes some narcotics.
That too. We won't admit to that on air, though, huh?
So just before we wrap up, I just want to kind of bring it back to your treatment and how you're doing now. So is there anything, like maybe a piece of advice you have for people who are listening on what kind of modalities and how this has worked for you and what to consider, like kind of while crossing this bridge?
There's so the problem with the VA is that they don't actually test or check for TBI. I mean, I believe maybe there's been some new things that are coming on board. That's what I have heard, is that there are some other things that they're doing to test that are getting better. And that's because of our generation is now, a lot of us suffered through TBI.
Yeah.
And we never knew.
TBI is the modern day PTS, like the shell shock, right?
So I would 100% advocate and say that any veteran that's out there, first responder, anybody, if you have the ability to just get checked to see if you have one, it's pretty easy for them to see some cursors of what it may be. They're not going to be able to tell you when it happened, how many times. They can't necessarily track down a single event, but they can see whether or not something is there and whether or not it's TBI, PTS, or anything else. If you are a vet, go get checked. Get everything done. I remember having a gunnery sergeant. So I think I was a staff sergeant at the time. He basically called anybody who went to medical, that light duty commando, and he's always making fun of them, whatever it may be. Here he is, he's getting out of the service, whatever, and his jacket is like half an inch thick and he wants to brag about it, and then you got the, the E4 or whatever it is that has a 2-inch thick file. Well, that 2-inch thick file actually says what happened with this guy or veteran or whatever it is. If you're injured, go get checked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get it documented.
Yeah.
You served your country. They get you, you didn't get paid very damn much.
Yeah.
You really didn't, grand scheme of things. So go get checked.
Yes.
See what's going on. Take care of yourself. Like I said, we served our country. We serve our communities now. You also need to serve yourself. That means taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You can't take care of somebody if you are not good on your own.
Oxygen mask theory, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that.
Put yours on first.
Put it on.
Yeah, you can't help
I probably still won't, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. Going down on
Says I'm stubborn.
But absolutely, if I was to give you any advice, I'd say if you have the abilities to get checked and everything like that to see if anything's going on, do it.
Yeah. If you're a vet, get checked.
There you go.
You're your own best advocate, right?
There you go.
Yeah,
the body will let you know if something's wrong.
Yeah.
It's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to do something about it or not.
Yeah. Absolutely. So. Beautifully put. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And interesting stuff. This is one of the reasons why we love this show. So thanks for being open to
I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
This has been the Medevac Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you interact with the content somehow, like, subscribe, hit those buttons. We would do the same for you. See you next week.
See you next time.